Hello, everyone. We're just letting everyone in out of the. Just give it another minute to let people jump in. Okay, so people are still joining, but maybe those of you that are here can start putting in the chat your name and role or affiliate. And I will put the agenda in the chat shortly. Hey, everyone. I'm going to put the agenda in the chat. All right. I think we'll get started. It's a couple minutes past 10. I'm sure we'll have more people joining us. And if you just joined us, just put your name and role affiliation in the chat. And I'll just give you a brief review of the agenda. We're going to start off by reflecting on the conversation and the presentation we had last meeting in September. Gosh, I can't even figure out what month it is. Where Maine and Arkansas presented along with some of the national partners. So that was a really very full meeting of a lot of information. So we thought we would take time at the beginning of this meeting just to see if there were things you wanted to know more about, just considerations for what we might do with that information. There is opportunity for some additional presentations or TA from the national partners. So thinking about those things. And let me just clear this up here. And then I think we're going to jump into having Alyssa Campbell and Rebecca Reese present on a project that's going on with the city of Burlington. And then we will have Beth give us the update on the State Advisory Council policy recommendations that are coming, and talk a little bit about our potential role in Act 76 implementation. And then we have 3 presentations. CDD is going to give us an update on some of the projects they're working on. And then we have Vermont AYC and First Children's Finance that will also be giving us information about the services that they're ramping up and providing as well. So that's our agenda. And so I think I'll open it up. If you just joined us, put your name and affiliation in the chat. And I think I'll just open it up to get any feedback from last month's meeting, where we heard from 2 states and sort of the programs that they have invested resources in to ensure more children are included and to reduce exclusionary discipline policies. So I think we'll start there, and we'll talk about that for a little bit before we move on.
I'll just jump in. I only see my hand, so I'm sorry if I'm jumping ahead. So Amy Murphy, hi everybody. Good morning. I'm the inclusion coordinator for the early education team at the AOE. I appreciated that they were working to merge their mental health work also with their work that they're doing with the National Center for Pyramid Model Innovations. I think Arkansas is a pyramid model state. So if y'all recall, she said that they were merging that work and bringing more pyramid model framework work to that state. And then Maine is kind of in the same boat. Their childcare has, they have their process, and they have this program occurring. And then they're also bringing in pyramid model. I think it's coming in kind of the same way it's been coming in for Vermont. It's coming in through their education system, and then it's going to be filtered merge into childcare and work with, the work that they're already doing. So I thought that was interesting, because that we're kind of in the same boat in this state. We have some initiatives going on, different programs going on. We have strengthening families, but those things fit within our early MTSS framework. And then within our early MTS framework, we have our pyramid framework. It's wrapped around that pyramid model framework. And that work is going on with, the preschool development grants and the state personnel development grant and the Title II and Title IV grant work. So it's interesting to see how they're combining their efforts and using, that framework, and, and how, compared to how we're doing that as well.
Thanks, Amy. Any other thoughts, feedback? Meg?
I don't remember which state it was. I think it might have been Maine that presented, and as they were presenting about sort of essentially a early childhood mental health consultation model that they were using, I couldn't help thinking about the history of the CUPS program in Vermont and Children's Integrated Services. And I know that at a regional level, we have had a lot of conversations over the past many years about how much programs are missing those CIS early childhood mental health consultations for kids who maybe don't have a special education need, but who certainly have a need for additional therapeutic supports in their early childhood program environment. And I wondered about how we might be able to structure our early MTSS system to be able to coordinate with some of those CIS early childhood mental health supports, to be able to kind of move back to a model that provided that consultation support.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Meg. And Meg, did you see Amy's response in the?
Yeah, and I'm delighted by it.
Other thoughts? I had two very simple thoughts or observations, because I'm always trying to think about like tactically how you put services out in the world. And two of the things that both of them talked about that they had regional approaches, but they had central intake, which I found just like interesting that two states, different sizes, like that was the model they were using, and that regional approach was a little bit different in each of them. But I did think about that, and they both had warm lines where there was a person to reach out to and to start with.
I know something that we've discussed under the preschool development grant, within that work group between Department of Mental Health, CDD, and AOE. We've talked to Cheryl Wilcox, and Cheryl might be on this call, I don't know, about universal screeners and the different screeners that Help Me Grow is promoting within Vermont. So using something that is kind of out there and free for everyone right now, and how that might be able to provide some more information, not just about the child's needs, but about the family's needs as well. And, then, being able to train on how to then connect them with a community partner that's going to be able to support them.
Mm-hmm.
Just, that's just a discussion that's going on as well.
I did notice that part of the main presentation included their 211 system as part of the entryway. Any other questions or thoughts? John, if you have something good, we could include it in our notes, like your 2 favorite things or something like that. I think that'd be great.
Well, I have lots.
I know you have lots.
I will choose 2.
2. And if people want more, we'll send more.
I have a whole folder on my desktop, so I'll choose 2 though.
That would be great. So before we shift to Beth, is there any other last thoughts or questions from last month's presentation? Great. So Beth, I think you're next on the agenda.
Just checking, because you had seed and sow next.
Oh,
and
sorry.
me after. I can definitely
Yes,
go.
I'm wrong. Nope, I'm wrong. It's Rebecca and Alyssa. You're next on the agenda. I forgot that I switched the order and bumped them up. So go.
Okay. Hello. I have like half of a voice, so bear with me. Thanks. It's been a whirlwind. I'm also traveling, so all the things. Yeah, so I'm super jazzed to get to share about this partnership that we're doing that we have underway with Burlington. For those of you who are new to Seed, we have basically I created the professional development program I needed as a teacher and as a director. And I did research in building emotional intelligence, and that's what our entire program is based on this research and how to build emotional intelligence in kids. It heavily focuses on the adult, really looking at like a lot of tier 1 support there. And we have a series of professional development workshops from a number of different experts in the field of early ed. We have what we call our core 8 workshops. Everything is asynchronous. And then we have an additional about 20 workshops right now in the catalog, adding about 20 a year there for folks to go deeper into different content areas. And then everything is housed on an app where teachers, directors, and providers can access a team of psychologists, occupational therapists, speech language pathologists, physical therapists, to get ongoing support. So they can ask a question at any point And we then support them with the right expert to dive deeper into this work. The goal being not just that they take PD, but that they have support with the implementation process of the workshops. Again, really focusing heavy on the adult. The method that we researched has 5 components, and 1 is adult-child interactions. The other 4 are about us. And so Burlington had reached out to look at doing a partnership where we could bring in some Burlington programs that didn't have access yet. One of the things that has been really important to us in the creation of the Seed Cert, and as it continues to unfold throughout the country and in Canada, was equity. And one way that there are a few ways that we look at that. One is through accessibility. So the initial funding cost for the cert happens, and then every year after that, it's about 20% of that cost for recertification that programs have shared that they're able to carry. Usually it's the initial funding cost that they're looking for support for. And so that's what Burlington's looking to provide here. And we offer our core 8. Oh, and all of our families get access to our Tiny Humans, Big Emotions program as well. We offer the core 8 and Tiny Humans, Big Emotions in English and in Spanish, and our team is there to support in English and in Spanish as well. And then all of our videos are captioned and can be translated. We also have a content library of additional resources that they can snag. It's robust. There's about 500 additional resources in there, everything from like scripts and what to say instead of "you're okay" and family guides for hitting, kicking, biting, like a whole slew of resources in there, also all able to be translated. What I had really felt strongly was missing for me as a teacher was access to the ongoing support piece, the ability to ask questions at any point. And that for us, I had worked at a few different schools as a teacher, and some had coaching support that would pop in sometimes and some didn't. But I needed some ongoing support. And so that's what we're really looking to create here, so that everyone has access to an OT and psych and PT and SLP and all that jazz. And yeah, so Burlington had reached out to collab, and we are bringing some Burlington programs in that they are funding the initial cost for these programs, really focusing not just on center-based, but doing cohorts of family childcare programs as well. Rebecca Reese is here from Burlington ELI to share a bit about the Burlington perspective and their experience, kind of what brought them in.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for your time today. I'm excited to be here. Overall, Early Learning Initiative works to support the childcare community within Burlington. And so we come about this 2 ways. One, supporting families to be able to connect them to programs in the area and provide an additional scholarship on top of FAP. And then also to support the childcare programs in the city. And so we do that through various means. We have capacity grants that literally provide funding to either help open programs or expand them to offer more spots, specifically focusing on infant and toddler, but we've definitely supported additional preschool spots as well. We are now stepping into more of supporting the actual workforce, both bringing new people in, which is obviously incredibly important, but also providing the ongoing support and training for the people we already have, so that we can continue to keep these incredible people and programs alive. And so we're excited about the SEED certification to be able to offer this training on a more flexible schedule for programs, and think that people were interested in that. And so this initial partnership with SEED has come together. Our contract is under $10,000 to be able to support a center and 5 different home family childcare programs. And I also love, I've met with them as well. I love the concept that SEED has brought this like cohort of family programs together. They are able to do the trainings on their own and work through it at their own pace, but then be able to have this group to bounce ideas off of each other, have conversations, and be able to have that outlet that teachers have in centers, but family childcare providers don't always get to have those conversations. So in addition to the extra PD and completing the SEED certification program, they're also having this great connection to each other and being able to have these conversations. So I'm really excited about this year and to see how it goes and to see how these supports and how these women all come together and how it affects and changes their programs. And we would like to, this is like our first step into it, but we really, our goal and our hope is to continue this, just kind of continue to hit repeat on it, and bring more people in. Hopefully we're working on a project to maybe to hopefully be able to open some more family childcare programs in the city. And it would be my goal to be able to offer this training to them as well. Maybe not right off the bat because there's just so much going on, but like within the first few months, kind of get them onto the program. So thanks.
And Ellen Drolette is leading that team. So she's leading all of the Burlington team. As a former Burlington family childcare provider. Any questions that folks have?
So I have a question for Rebecca, and I'm going to put her. And I had the great pleasure of working with Rebecca in setting up the Early Learning Initiative in Burlington, which really has this mission to serve kids that were not being served at all, and also to ensure that kids maybe that are the most difficult to serve still have access to programs. It's a great initiative, great people working on it. And I'm just curious how many kids you've been able to serve so far-ish.
From the beginning of the program. So this is the beginning of our 5th scholarship year. Our first one started in 2019. And I just did a report on this. We've had 234 applications, I believe, and we've been able to scholarship upwards of 180 or 90. It's right around that number. Some of those families that didn't end up continuing through either chose not to enroll at that moment, or mostly that. We've really been able to offer spaces to pretty much everybody who really wants it. Some folks applied and then ended up deciding that they weren't quite ready for childcare, but yeah, so it's been great. We're almost at that 200 mark for families. We currently this year have 38 families enrolled, and I just did a tour again this morning with another family. So getting close to the 40 mark already for this year, which is much faster than other years.
That's great.
Yeah.
Love that. It's a great, one of the things that I appreciate about ELI is that it's a great model for thinking about how to have services for kids and families everywhere. The outreach model that they have, which really is focused on serving kids not connected to childcare, not enrolled, like the hardest to reach, and the way they approach that, and the way they're approaching growing the workforce, and then embedding in this initiative, embedding some supports, not only for children, but I've also heard really good feedback about the family resources that are available for Seed and Sow. So when you're thinking about reaching some of the hardest to reach families, having that piece. And I'm trying to encourage Rebecca to continue to attend our meetings, because she's a great resource, and it would be great to have her join. But
thanks.
Get really excited about ELI. And shout out to Erin. She also was on that initial design team.
Yes, absolutely. And really, like, what we've discovered is obviously the funding is huge. Our funding model and things may look a little different as FAP comes into play in January, which is amazing. And like the whole goal of the program was to be kind of this stopgap measure until the state funding got caught up. But what we've really discovered is having that additional support, and mostly it's me helping families connect to the programs and work through the process. work through both FAP process, but also like the full enrollment process. That is what has really made the difference and gotten people truly connected to those programs. And so I'm very proud of that and hope to continue to do that. Absolutely is the goal, to keep that piece there and going. Just like this morning, I completed a tour with a family. We got the enrollment paperwork. She felt really good about it, liked that there was another person there to just kind of like help and support. And I'll help her complete the enrollment paperwork and kind of get those first couple of days under her belt as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's great. It's
Thanks.
awesome. Any other questions for Alyssa or Rebecca?
Just wanted to note that one of the things that was rad about this partnership is we've had a wait list for Vermont-based programs. We have it throughout the US, but we have one for Vermont-based programs that want access to the seed cert and just don't have the funding available for that initial cost. And 100% of the people were pulled from our wait list who have been like waiting to access this and just couldn't financially access it. And all of them have reported that the recertification cost is something they can carry as a budget line item. And it was just getting in the first place.
Oh, great. That's
So
awesome.
thanks, Rebecca.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
providing
And
that.
you mentioned families being able to access it too. Based on licensed spots for the programs that are in this initial program, is upwards of 75 families are going to be able to access
Mhm.
the family portion of it. So that's significant. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you both. All right, if there's no more questions, now I think it's Beth's turn.
Thanks, Sherry. It's great to be with you this morning. I have a couple of a whole kind of array of announcements and kind of updates. I'm going to start with policy recommendations and then do Act 76. I think that makes sense. So the Early Learning Development Committee is one of the 7 Vermont Early Childhood Action Plan committees that BBF convenes to be able to monitor the Vermont Early Childhood Action Plan. Many of you know that, but just a reminder for those of you who might be new to this table. And we have a public and private co-chair, Dawn and Sherry. Thank you so much for your leadership. And part of our annual, part of our charge, part of Building Bright Futures charge is to advise the governor and the legislature and our agency partners on the well-being of children and families. And we do that in a range of ways. We do that kind of informally through texting legislators and agency partners, formal meetings, one-on-one group meetings, as well as kind of formally by writing policy recommendations that really elevate the most pressing policy needs that kind of come up through our network, regional councils, and this table as a VCAP committee. And those policy recommendations are written, and it's an iterative process by bringing it back to this table and other partners to be able to try and get the language as good as possible. Again, we are trying to write policy recommendations, not for like all policy recommendations that are needed, but what is needed right now in our system in terms of gaps that are facing children and families and actionable in the next year. So that is essentially the policy recommendations. We brought a slate of recommendations to the State Advisory Council in September. That was after already a lot of review. So thank you for your input and many of the issues that we have been talking about here, right? Around the needs around, just access and opportunities for children and families in a range of ways. So I'm coming back to you with kind of a status update in terms of kind of how we are moving forward with those policy recommendations. There have been changes since the proposed slate in September. And I was looking for the most recent draft. So some of the things that are in the policy recommendations, for example, and just related to goal 3, there's a recommendation around investing in perinatal supports. One of our VCAP committees, the Child Outcomes Accountability Team, has been talking quite a bit around perinatal supports related to kind of, so that's one. Another one is around mental health and access to services for mental health, both for children and families. We have a large section for goal 3 around high quality and inclusive early care and education after school programs. So there's a set of recommendations around pre-K access and equity. We presented about some of those in at the September SAC related to kind of access to pre-K for our very rural families who would like to bring their Act 166 dollars to a bordering state. Ensuring 3-year-olds are able to access special education services, like those types of things. I'm not going through all of them because we've presented them already. So anyway, there have been some changes where we decided to remove some recommendations that had been previously presented. And first off, we got a lot of feedback that the recommendations were way too long and there was like too much there to be able to be actionable. So trying to take that into account, we made a decision to remove the Act 166 implementation recommendation. Again, not that it's not important, but it's moving, right? And that we felt like Act 76 is being closely monitored by BBF and our partners, including this committee. And so we didn't necessarily need a recommendation in there, so that was removed. We also made a decision to remove the professional development recommendation where we were talking about social emotional investing in a coordinated system of supports around social emotional development and training for early educators. Again, very important, and feel like this committee and others are really committed to that. That's what we're talking about today. However, there is not that we found that there was not necessarily consensus about the strategies, and therefore the recommendation was not actionable enough to be able to be very useful to legislators, for example, or the administration. And there are a number of things already in motion in part through the preschool development grant. So that is something that this committee or another one could bring forward in the future, but feel like it needs to be a little bit more specific, and there needs to be more discussion. So those were some of the key changes that I just wanted to provide an update for this committee, because you have been very involved in building them. And I will pause there to see if there are questions. Okay. So thank you for your participation. This is an annual process. It doesn't happen one time a year where we're identifying gaps and needs. That is what we are here to do, right? As the Early Learning and Development Committee, we are stewarding goal 3 of the VCAP, and we are kind of selective, identifying different parts of the system to hear what's happening, some best practices across the state, or sometimes in other states, as we did last month, and then being able to discuss kind of where do we want to promote that, or where are there gaps and needs that might need kind of additional resources or policy recommendations, trying to build those connections here among the 27 of us who are assembled, which I think is a fabulous turnout. So so just a reminder as we move through the year that this is kind of a just part of our kind of questioning, and why we are assembled is to be able to bring to this table where we see gaps and needs. And you can always kind of bring something forward to the co-chairs if you have a kind of topic for discussion or examination. So that's policy recommendations. In terms of Act 76, let me shift to my other notes. there's so many exciting things happening related to kind of changes to the early childhood system in the last several months, including Act 76, including the influx of funds, and congrats to CDD and, you know, for like getting those payments out and shifts to CCFAP. It is all very exciting. As Rebecca, you were talking about, like, we've been holding out for that additional investment and it's finally coming. Now, in terms of Act 76, you know, that the law kind of calls for a whole range of things, and BBF is charged in Act 76 to be able to monitor the implementation of the bill. And so Building Bright Futures has been started working with our agency partners to be able to identify and build buy-in, which our data team and agency kind of data teams are there and on board in terms of identifying what data points, what are the benchmarks that we want to be able to measure to be able to track the implementation of Act 76. And so there's been quite a bit of work around monitoring to be able to say, to review kind of what are the different buckets of data, what's available and what's not, and what might we work on over the next several years to be able to track. And so that work is ongoing. We're actually going to talk about it more at the October State Advisory Council, which is both in person and virtual. And then we anticipate being able to come to this committee in the next couple of months to be able to get more kind of concrete feedback from this group. So let me just give you some examples of what we are trying to measure. So there's 6 buckets around childcare. These are kind of buckets of data that we are trying to track and have identified different data points under each of them: childcare, universal pre-K, after school, the workforce, early childhood education workforce, economic impact, and family impact. So that work is ongoing, and just want to kind of give you a heads up that while it may not be super public, it is happening and there's been incredible progress. And if you're wanting more information, you can certainly tune into the October SAC or just kind of track this group for a future agenda item when we will kind of dive a little bit deeper into the monitoring aspect. I'll pause there and see if there are questions, or for those of you who are involved, want to add.
Hop in as the UPK coordinator rep on that implementation committee, some of the side work that's going on. So the implementation committee does have a public accessible date for our next meeting. It's October 24th. It's from 10:30 to 12:30. And the universal preschool coordinators, we all get together on a monthly basis. And so we got together earlier this week and had this topic on our agenda as well. So lots of excitement and lots of parallel conversations happening across our system, like Beth said.
Becca, we only have, for the UPK implementation committee, there's only that one date, right? They haven't set regular.
We have not set regular dates.
Okay.
My understanding is that the halt point in that is that they were hiring a facilitator. So the bid closed for that on October 2nd. And they were anticipating having that facilitator so that CDD and AOE don't have to facilitate and participate. That they anticipated that person would be on board for November or December's meeting, and that might impact availability / smaller work groups versus a full group versus like that. I think part of I haven't seen the agenda for next week, the week after. But my understanding is that part of kind of those organizational pieces are on the agenda.
Ah, gotcha. And just to repeat what Becca said, is these are open meetings. So you can, if people are interested in those meetings, you can attend those meetings. I'm not sure how people find out about them. We can put
I can drop the link to the calendar where it's posted into the chat. I'll find it when
that'd
we
be great.
Dawn, do you know who CDD and AOE coordinated for the facilitator?
I don't. I knew it was happening, but I don't know where they are in the process between interviewing and signing a contract. It may take a smidge to get a contract signed, although I have no doubt that it is being expedited.
So they did it, so just so other committee members here know, so the AOE is the money holder in the situation. And they did it as whatever the shortened bid cycle is. So rather than putting out an RFP and asking people to give a proposal to be a facilitator, they went through the opposite process, which is, here's what we want. Here are 3-4 organizations. We're going to recruit you to give a bid. So that's all I know. But they were hoping that was going to happen for the November meetings. I'll find the calendar link and I'll put it in the chat, Sherry.
Thank you, Becca. I've been hoping that they would have, and maybe in November, like the schedule of meetings, so that it can, it can be publicized more, so people that are interested in attending can attend.
There were several of us as committee members that were like, if you put it on the calendar, we can plan around our lives. We will
know. Exactly. Any
Thank you
other
all
questions? Yeah, Beth, you had one more thing, right? At least.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that we we opened the portal for the first round of applications for the Vermont Early Childhood Fund. So these are preschool development grant funds that are coming through BBF out to communities to support our early childhood system. And we have 2 different grant programs. There's an opportunity grant program, which is $10,000 to $80,000 to address immediate needs. And then there's an innovation fund, which is a larger grant, a pot of money, potentially multi-year, to kind of test innovative ideas. Those funds are now available. The application deadline is November 10th. And there will be multiple rounds over the next 3 years of preschool development grants. So if you or those you're working with don't feel like they can meet the November 10th deadline, they shouldn't stress, because we will be opening it at least twice more in 2024 and then again in 2025. Those are unfortunately reimbursement based grants because it's federal money, despite our pleading that we not run it that way. However, it'll be monthly billing, so we're trying to make it as accessible as possible given the federal grant. So there was an info session, and it's recorded and on our YouTube, and more kind of Q&A sessions. Michelle Kersey, who we hired to run the program, is super accessible. So if you or anyone you're working with has any questions, they should really just reach out to her. It's, first of all, great to have a grant manager, and to be running this program. It took a long time to kind of get it up and running. So I don't know if there's any folks who have questions about that, but many of your organizations are eligible. Family childcare providers are eligible. CIS programs, other people providing CIS services. kind of, it's in that sense, it is fairly flexible. I'll put the link in the chat. Any questions about that? Or anyone considering applying and has questions about the process?
Beth, did you say the November 10th is for both types of grants?
It is, yep.
Any other
Awesome.
questions? Okay. Okay. Dawn, I was making sure I got the right order. So we are shifting into, we have Dawn from the Child Development Division, and then Sharon Harrington from Vermont AYC and some of the team members, and then Erin Roche from First Children's Finance. So we'll start with Dawn.
Well, hello. As you can imagine, Child Development Division has been very busy. So I'm going to give some updates about not only Act 76, but sort of other things that we are dipping our fingers into right now and moving forward. So I'm going to first start off with some numbers. Last month, we reported that 631 programs had applied for the readiness grant. And this month, we're up to 716 programs who have applied. So we're seeing a nice trajectory up. We're very excited. So the hard numbers are 80 after school programs, 299 center-based programs, 23 licensed homes, and 304 registered homes. So we're very pleased. We are just about to start some outreach to programs that we have not seen applications from. So this morning I saw the data pool for all of the licensed or registered homes. We're going to compare that with the spreadsheet of folks who have applied and then send targeted communications to the programs that we have not heard from to make sure that they are aware of this opportunity and direct them to where they can apply. Our dream actually is 100% of participation. Right now, of the total amount of $20 million, we for sure have allocated just a smidge over 15 million. So we're right around our estimate. You know, with those additional programs, I think we'll hit our mark. Any money that is left over will be extended into additional payments. So we are leaving nothing on the table. It will all go out to providers. And we're getting some lovely feedback from folks. One of my favorite emails that has come back has been from a provider who used to be a registered family home provider. And she said, with all of the new funding opportunities and raised rates, I'm considering becoming a registered home again. I let it lapse and I just didn't think it was worth it, but now I think that I'd like to do it again. So those are the sorts of communications that make me very excited. And then I send them to every person in leadership and say, look, it is making a difference. So the other things that we're working on is the enrollment versus attendance question. Carolyn might be scheduling time on the November agenda to come and talk about where that is and to elicit feedback from folks. That is going to take a bit longer because it is a rule change, but we want to start assembling that feedback and input as we move forward with the rule changing process. The second rate increase for January is well underway, and we highly anticipate it's going to be right on time. Carolyn and her operations team have been amazing, and CDDIS is its own its own universe, but things are looking very, very promising. So we're excited about that. It'll be right on time for providers. And I think that bump will be another welcome influx of funds into the system. We're going to be starting to plan for the Quality and Capacity Incentive Program, which should come online in July of 2024. So that's the additional $10 million that has been allocated to us. We're going to start soliciting provider feedback early in 2024 as we design that system. I'm not sure how it's going to look yet because we need the input, pardon me, to design it. So we'll probably be bringing that to this group and other stakeholders as well to talk about where we think it's going to go. Of course, we'll also be using feedback from providers who are opting into the readiness payment program. We'd like to know what differences those made, how perhaps they would have liked to see the money allocated. So just making sure that we're using all sources of data available to us. The Act 76 positions that we were granted are in the process of being interviewed, and we hope to have hires soon. That was 11 positions that we were granted. So between that and the PDG, I feel like we're all in interviews like every week. I think, who was it? Maybe Carolyn said, I've been in 30 hours of interviews between the last 2 weeks. So yes, we're doing the best we can, and we're blocking out big times of our schedules to do it. So hopefully in the very near future, you'll be hearing about new hires for all of those positions. Becca talked about the PK implementation committee. So thank you, Becca. I can cross that off my list. And I would just say, please take advantage of our website, the Act 76 website. It is updated frequently with information about where we are on all of the projects. Those of you who know Janet know that she loves a good chart with dates, and she's definitely keeping us to those dates. I think that it actually is wonderful for us too as a division to have those sorts of goals to hit. Our first report to the legislature is due November 1st, and I'm actually about to start to write that this afternoon. So we have a target date for that as well. So we'll be reporting out on the exciting progress we've made. And then finally, and Sharon, I'm sure, is going to talk about Sparks. The STARS Advisory Committee had a meeting on Monday, and we will continue those on a monthly basis as we roll the program out. We've gotten a handful of applications. In fact, we had a meeting yesterday to sort of talk about what we want to see in the applications and start to go over that process in real time with real application files. We're going to continue those workshops. Last workshop we had, just as an overview of STARS, we had 111 people registered, 65 attended, which is a significant uptick from the previous, which had maybe 12 folks. So I think that the realization that STARS has changed and folks want to be informed about that is getting out. One of the things that I continue to emphasize is that this is a hold harmless year. We are not looking to take people's STARS away, that this is a tester year. We're figuring out what works and what doesn't. So everybody, I know folks, anytime anything changes, people, it's chaos. But we're just really trying to emphasize that this isn't punitive. We're learning together, and it's okay. We're going to figure it out. We're not here to hit you with a stick. And that's what I have for updates. So please, questions, queries, questions about my cat who won't stay on the floor. No.
I
I'd love to
just,
go ahead, Sherry.
no, I was just gonna say that Let's Grow Kids, Vermont AYC, First Children's Finance, and CDD are offering a 45-minute webinar the 18th at 12:45 around at 76. I also, there's just been a lot of incoming on that, and it just felt like it might be efficient to hold a webinar that I want to remind people that there is a lot of really like specific good information on the Let's Grow Kids website about the bill, because what we hear is people want to know about the bill. I think what people really want to know is like something specific to their situation about the bill. So we're trying to get questions submitted ahead of time, and so it won't be a comprehensive overview of the bill. It will be like maybe some short overviews. A lot of questions around the implementation timeline is like, I think, a general question. And then the rest of the presentation will primarily be focused around the kind of questions that we're getting in. So I just wanted to remind people about that.
Yeah. And Janet and I will both be at that, so.
But if people really want just like, I want to know what was in the bill, that website has it all broken down for families, for childcare providers. It has all the committees that were in the, like, even the smaller things. So it's pretty reader friendly.
It's a big deal, and our federal partners are watching as well. We talk about this. We had an Office of Childcare meeting right before I jumped over here, and they're very excited because I know they're going to use us as a resource for technical assistance for other states. So we should, I know you're very proud, but we should collectively be really proud of the work that we are collectively doing in Vermont. It is noticed, and it's exciting.
Any other questions for Dawn?
Thanks, Lynn. You're a part of this too. And is Keith, the CDD folks. Well, everyone is. I don't know what I'm saying.
And I turn it over to Sharon.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. So good to get all these updates. It's really helpful for all of us to hear all this information because there is a lot going on, just as you said, Dawn. So we're here as a team to share some updates about what's happening at the Vermont Association for the Education of Young Children, Vermont AYC. As pretty much everyone here knows, we administer probably about 10 programs and initiatives right now. And over this, the hiring conversation, it's across the state. We have felt really fortunate that over the past 6 to 8 weeks, we've grown from a staff of 8 to about 20. We're nearly fully staffed. We have a couple of folks onboarding in the next month or so, and we still have 1 or 2 positions that we're still advertising for. But we're feeling really good about our staff capacity to be able to administer those programs. And because the scope of our work has shifted over the years, we've restructured our departments to reflect the work that we are now administering. And so today we have 3 department leads to talk about the specific work that their teams are focused on. And I thought it'd be useful for you all to sort of have a sense of like who those folks are, what they're, what each department is focused on, so that as you have questions or suggestions, who to reach out to specifically. So we have structured, we have a career advancement department now, and that is focusing on, supports predominantly for the incumbent workforce, but also for pre-apprentices. So those are, mostly scholarships, mentoring, things related to stipends. That particular department is the career advancement team. We now have what we're calling an early childhood educator engagement department, which is focusing on intake, outreach, things that are really targeted for workforce recruitment, retention, and engagement. So we'll talk about that today. And then our new scope of work, as Dawn referenced, is our program quality support. So I'm going to ask each department lead to introduce themselves when they speak to the work that they're leading. And we're hoping to leave some time at the end for some questions. And I just would encourage you, if you have like specific questions, to visit our website. We have really, updated comprehensive information on the website, as well as, connect directly with the department leads. And if we, at the end of this conversation, we discover that there's a real interest in a particular aspect of our work, we're happy to come back and do a follow-up conversation. So this is our team. This is our team right here in this photo. So I am going to turn it over to Brenda Schramm.
Thanks, Sharon. Brenda Schramm. I am the EC Director for Career Advancement, and I've been with Vermont AYC for 6 years. And my background is in many different aspects of early childhood. Family childcare, license centers, mentoring, higher ed, and I'm really happy to be able to share a little bit about our career advancement programs today. So we're gonna, this might be an introduction or a reintroduction to some of these programs. But one thing that we do know is that every industry employs a variety of strategies to meet their ever-changing career advancement needs. And we're no exception. And at Vermont AYC, we have many programs that serve to not only recruit new members, new educators to the field, but to also retain them in this vital workforce. And any serious effort to develop career advancement must include strategies that increase compensation, as you all know. And the good news is we're moving forward in our efforts as a state. And we know that we need comprehensive career advancement strategy, and that this chart here, or graph, or whatever you'd like to call it, map, outlines how Vermont AYC is building this. And I just wanted to sort of pivot off of what Dawn said about Vermont getting, recognition. And, we found that in the spring when we went to several conferences, and Vermont was being recognized for our, efforts. And it's very exciting. So the first program that I just wanted to talk about a little bit further is our pre-apprenticeship program. And the Early Childhood Education Pre-Apprenticeship Program allows students to earn their high school diploma, get paid work experience under the guidance of an experienced early childhood educator mentor, and gain transferable post-secondary education at no cost to them. And then after high school graduation, the students who complete this pre-apprenticeship program will be ready to join our Vermont Early Childhood Education Apprenticeship Program. And then they can continue studying at the college level and or work in an early childhood education program. And our program is currently full at 18 participants, which is very exciting. And then the next program is the Early Childhood Education Apprenticeship Program. And as the needs of educators have progressed since the start of the program, Vermont AYC actively engages in quality improvement of our model to accommodate more of the workforce and streamline with our educational partners. And when a student completes the apprenticeship program, they're eligible to apply for a CCV childcare certificate as well, and that's pending credit for a professional field experience. And then they can move on to an associate's degree scholarship. Our next program that I just wanted to talk a little bit further about is the TEACH Early Childhood Scholarship Program. And TEACH stands for Teacher Education and Compensation Helps. And Vermont AYC holds this license from Teach National to administer the program in Vermont. We have 4 scholarship types and multiple models within each type to meet the needs of educators filling a variety of positions in our field. We currently have 84 recipients with several additional applicants preparing to start in spring of 2024. And our program has grown a great deal since it started in sorry, yeah, 2014. We're coming up on an anniversary next year. So we're really excited about that. And I am going to pass it off to the next person. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Beth Wallace. I am the Associate Director for Early Childhood Educator Engagement. And that's really kind of all encompassing when we think about supports for our members and our educators. The main program that I've been diving into in my first month and a half has been the Student Loan Repayment Assistance Program. So that's what I'm going to focus on today. And there have been some really exciting updates to that program in the last year. So just as a reminder, this program was established in 2021 through Act 45. It provides up to $4,000 annually in financial assistance payments, and those payments are distributed quarterly. We also have the ability to issue one-time retroactive payments of up to $4,000. So someone could potentially qualify for $8,000 in student loan repayment assistance. Participants commit to working in a Vermont regulated center-based or family child care home program for the next 12 months. And we verify that commitment and that employment on a quarterly basis. Awards are given on a first come, first served basis and are limited to available grant funds. Currently, this program is funded through August 2024. As I said, there have been some really exciting updates to eligibility, and that's yielded many more applications just since July. So employment, folks have to be working in a privately operated center-based program or a home program regulated by CDD or a Head Start program. It is important to remember that folks who work for public school systems are not eligible for this benefit. One of the big updates to eligibility was increasing the annual salary cap from $50,000 to $60,000. And that only includes early childhood income. So folks who might have a second job or work in a different field part-time, that income does not count toward that annual salary cap. They need to work in their program an average of 30 hours per week or more, and they need to work in their program at least 48 weeks per year unless they're employed at a Head Start program that is only open for the school year. Another big change to eligibility was the addition of master's degrees. So folks who've earned an associate's, bachelor's, or master's in approved majors or concentrations are eligible. And then another big change was adding a degree that contributes to an early childhood career ladder certificate 3B or higher through Northern Lights. And we'll see on a future slide what that has yielded. Folks need to provide sufficient documentation of their loan amounts. They can't be simultaneously enrolled in a TEACH program, although if they incurred debt from a related degree prior to becoming enrolled in the TEACH program, there's some flexibility there. And again, they need to commit to working in the field for the next 12 months, which really is a big piece of that retainment. So we have some statistics to share. Since the inception of the program, we've received 224 initiated applications. That includes applications that were abandoned or were found to be ineligible. So the first step in applying for the program is to set up a profile and kind of self-screen. And so, we have 224 profiles, but some folks didn't move beyond that self-screener because they found that they were ineligible. However, 96 have been eligible, and 10 of those 96 have been found eligible for both year 1 and year 2. We are conducting additional outreach to those year 1 recipients to say, hey, if you still have outstanding debt, please reapply for year 2. So we expect that number to go up. of all of the awardees, which is just the 96 who are eligible, not the 224, the total loan debt held is $2,799,389, which is pretty startling. We have awarded $548,686.04. And we've already, so that's what we've committed, and we've already distributed the 269,000.
So Beth, let me just ask, so the 2.7, almost 2.8 million is by those 96?
Correct.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty incredible. We've issued 43 retroactive payments and 86 quarterly recipients to date. And I especially like this stat about 14 awardees have qualified by holding that career ladder certificate 3B or above. And again, we expect that number to increase as well. So what's next? We have 2 webinars planned for November 2nd, 1 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. with Joshua Cohen, who is our student loan lawyer consultant. We had offered those webinars last year, but there have been significant updates in the past year just with what's going on federally. So we want to highlight the end of federal student loan forbearance and really encourage folks to apply for student loan repayment assistance now that has been borne out and we can pick up where that forbearance left off. Joshua also has other updates about new federal programs that might be good fits for folks who hold student debt from before 2010. There have been some changes around anyone who was in default status has the opportunity for a fresh start and a clean slate and to be deemed held in good standing. But that takes an action on folks' part, and a lot of people don't know that, so he'll be highlighting that. We're also going to be promoting like a step-by-step recording of how to apply for the program. Daisha Oslin, who's our new program specialist, has been kind of collecting data on where folks are getting hung up the most. And so we want to highlight those pieces and just make it as easy as possible for people to apply. We need to secure funding for the mandated extension beyond August 2024. We're working with CDD to do that. So the legislature said, yes, continue this program beyond August 2024, but they didn't earmark funds for that. So we are optimistic about that, but just need to tie up some loose ends. And we want to continue to promote the program and our grants and bonuses programs because we're finding that enough people don't know about this incredible opportunity. So one of the first steps is to educate our own folks, our quality support specialists, our coaches and mentors who are going to be in programs, talking with directors, talking with early childhood educators. We just provided a similar presentation for them yesterday. So they're equipped with this information. They're going to be talking about it. One of the hangups for some applicants has been their directors verifying their employment. That just seems to be taking a long time. So we want to highlight how important this is and what a great retention strategy it is for directors and make that process as easy as possible. And I will yield to Victoria Ward.
Hi all, I'm Victoria. I am the Associate Director for EC Program Quality, and like Beth, I've been with Vermont AUIC for about a month and a half, and I'm sort of tasked with helping to develop, launch, and implement the new Sparks program. So the first thing to note about Sparks is its acronym, and what is Sparks? So it's the System for Program Access to Resources for Quality Supports, and it's funded by CDD, but administered by the Vermont AUIC. Its main goal is to create a culture of quality, which has the potential to have a broad impact across our field and to ensure equitable access to resources. And while it's funded by CDD and the work intersects with STARS, what we've found is that there's some confusion in the field. So I just want to reiterate that it is different than STARS and it intersects with it, but they are not one and the same thing. So we found that to be a really important message to get out into the field. And the Sparks consists of 3 components. So the first being quality coaching and support services. The second being we provide the scored assessments for the STARS program. So that's sort of that intersection that I was talking about. We'll have assessors on the team that will go out and provide those assessments. And then we're working with the Vermont Early Childhood Networks to come up with a new strategic plan to increase access and equity throughout them. What's next for Sparks is really exciting because, as you all know, it's a new program. So everything's sort of next for Sparks. But we're working with various stakeholders to create that strategic plan for the Vermont Early Childhood Networks. And what we did was we created a survey back in September that went out to network leaders, it went out to network members, non-members, and the broader workforce. And we had 174 people respond, which was really great and gave us a lot of wonderful data points to start from. And Meg Atwood, who's our EC Resource and Networks Manager, and Beth are kind of working with those program leaders, or network leaders rather, as well as the broader community to come up with that strategic plan. And what we noticed was there are certain areas of the state that are definitely in need of help accessing those networks. So that's exciting. We have, like Sharon mentioned, our full team of assessors is in the process of being hired. So we're hoping that they will be ready to go out in November. We have an intake form that is up internally. So people that have specifically reached out to Vermont AUIC or to CDD, we've started that intake process to be able to go out and conduct those scored assessments. In a couple weeks, we'll send out a broader announcement to the rest of the field to get people to sign up for those that are in need. We do expect demand to exceed our capacity. So we're working on a prioritization list with CDD. So that's that. And then we have a team of 6 coaches and mentors that have worked really hard over the past few weeks, getting up to speed with class. So they are taking the certification tests now. They've been through both the infant toddler trainings as well as the pre-K through 3rd grade trainings, and hope to have their certifications in the next couple weeks. And they've also been really delving into Coach PD. So we have a lot on our plates in terms of what we're working on and what we're looking for. I think the biggest hope with the program is that we can really have that broad impact across the field, and particularly increase the access to these resources in typically under-resourced areas. So we're really excited about that. And then the challenges are it's something new. So I think, there's a lot of unknowns, and we're going to sort of stay flexible and be able to pivot as we get out there and start working with the field. So we're really excited to create this culture of quality and have reflective practice be kind of part of every part of our organization and Sparks. And yeah, with that, if anyone has questions, Beth, Brenda, and I are all here, and Sharon. But that's kind of the update from Vermont AUIC.
Meg has a question.
Thanks. I just wanted to note now that you for most of those pieces, especially like the student loan repayment, the public school staff are not eligible for getting any of those student loan repayments. And I'm thinking specifically about paras in those classrooms. I know it may depend a little bit on the school district, but frequently there's not a lot of support for paraprofessionals in terms of loan repayments or their educational advancement. And I'm wondering if that's something you might look at in the future.
So I can just share that if for Teach, for our scholarships, if a para applies and they are not being paid on the public school salary, like if they, you know what I mean, if they're in a CDD regulated program and all that, and they meet the criteria, we do have paras that have that are on contract. So we always try to really vet applications and talk to the applicants about their exact situation, because sometimes I think it can be confusing. And so for Teach, we have in the 6 years that I've been here, we've opened that up and sort of worked really closely with CDD to understand those parameters. And so we do currently have at least one para. There might be more that are on a Teach contract.
And I'll just piggyback, and Beth, maybe you have something to add to this as well. But prior to joining my AUIC, I did serve on the Student Loan Repayment Assistance Advisory Group, and there were extensive conversations about public school eligibility, and it was proposed, but was not, the appetite at the legislature was that wasn't the criteria they were looking for at the time. So yeah, they definitely are on our radar for sure.
I would still suggest that folks working in public school programs attend or view those webinars with Joshua Cohen, though, because those webinars are not just focused on the student loan repayment assistance program. They're kind of a rundown of all student loan programs that could, public school employees could be eligible for. So he's going to cover public service loan forgiveness as well. And there may be other programs that those staff would qualify for.
Yes, as a person who just got her loans forgiven through public service loan forgiveness, I feel very excited about that program. I put my 10 years in, so.
Awesome. Any other questions for Vermont AYC before we move to First Children's Finance? That was great and very helpful to see the programs broken down like that. And I'm still blown away by the 2.8 million in loan debt in early education field. That's brutal. Erin.
Thanks for having me. So I'm here from First Children's Finance, and I know Jen and Rose are both regular members, participants in this committee meeting, so probably you get updates from them now and again. But I thought I would give a little bit of, I don't know, kind of a high level reflection of what we're doing in this moment and kind of what our plans are. So just to remind everybody, the mission at First Children's Finance is to grow the supply and business sustainability of excellent childcare. And I mention that because everything we do is related to growing the supply and business sustainability of excellent childcare. And so I just wanted to remind everybody and kind of put it in that context. I think that and that's kind of helped me organize my update a little bit. I think Act 76 really did a lot on both of those dimensions. And so one of the things we did this summer as Act 76 got enacted and everything was moving at extra light speed, is we started a series of videos and some office hours, and just mainly because we felt like we needed to move really fast because there were a lot of questions and a lot of uncertainty, and the systems at the state weren't in place yet, or they were just right? They were just coming online. And so I've been starting to pull some of the data about what we did this summer. And I want to offer that that we had about 850 views on our website since July, which is kind of a lot for us. And that's just on our Vermont webpage. And I think what was driving that was that there were, just in September, there were like 100 views of a combination of those Act 76 videos. In September, most of them were the readiness payment videos, which was the most recent one that we did. There were a lot of questions about readiness payments and how to apply, and more importantly, what could they use the money for, and like what limitations. And so, I mean, the beautiful answer is that there were very few limitations, and that kind of that if they could imagine it, they could use it for that. And so anyway, I wanted to just mention all of that. And also regarding Act 76, I wanted to share that some of the, like recently, some of the most common questions we are getting have to do with sort of three main topics. One is about the rate increase cap and what that means, and is there really a grace period, and what does that mean for them? And so we've had conversations, usually one-on-one conversations with people about what that might look like for them. They're in all kinds of different places. So that's one big question that we get. Another one is about taxes and the tax implications of this new law, and mostly because it is going to give them a lot more revenue in their business than they have experienced before. And I'm not going to get into the nuts and bolts of all of that, but I'm going to talk in a second about some of the things we've been working on around that. So there's a lot of questions about taxes and tax implications, and because it is a lot of change and kind of a whole new world. And the third thing related sort of has to do with benefits, whether it's that they feel like they now have enough revenue coming into their business to offer staff benefits, and they're trying to figure out how they even do that, or how to go about it. Yeah, or it's that they think they're going to come off a benefits cliff. They've been getting all kinds of subsidized services from the state, and now they're not sure they're going to be eligible. And what does that mean for them, right? Are they not eligible, and will the new revenue make up the difference? And then how would they go about acquiring those things like health insurance if it's not subsidized, and right, if it's a different system that they need to participate in? So those are kind of the three questions we've been getting most recently, right? Now that the move to the 5-star rates happened, and the readiness payments, as Dawn shared earlier, most programs have applied for them, and so people are moving on into more looking forward kinds of questions, right, that are going to really kick in next year, because the tax year starts in January and the big rate increase happens in January. So that's so the good news is people are kind of planning ahead right now and anticipating what it's going to look like next year. So working largely with Let's Grow Kids, we've helped and participated in some webinars that are addressing things like legal issues of sort of business structure and other things that are related to taxes and benefits. And then Let's Grow Kids has been hosting a couple of benefits webinars, which I've had the opportunity to participate in, and that I think has been or will be really helpful. Those webinars are being recorded, and we're going to be putting them up on the shared services website, the links to them, so that they're more widely accessible, and we'll be sharing those out. Which takes me to one more thing about Act 76 related is that we have a couple of trainings coming up. One of them is tonight, and then there's one next week, and I think maybe one the following week. I might have the dates wrong, but you can get them on our webpage, about planning for the future and they're about things like budgeting and forecasting and cash flow analysis. So, and also about like policies and practices. So I just want to point that out, that that's kind of the other thing that's happening is in looking at what's going to happen next year with rate increases and eligibility increases and all of that. People are really thinking about planning for the future. And so both of those planning for the future sessions are, we have a pretty solid registration for. I think there's more than 20 people registered for each of them. So anyway, those are kind of the Act 76 related things that are going on kind of in this moment, and are related to both growing the supply of childcare and kind of the business sustainability of childcare. Thinking about business sustainability, I also wanted to mention that we are now hosting the Shared Services Vermont web platform. And so we've been doing a bit of a refresh. We're going to continue to work on that. That's going to be like fully launched at the Vermont AYC conference in November. I keep saying just so that I can make that true. But like I said, we're going to have these webinar recordings. Links will be there. There's some new resources that are getting put up there, and we've been kind of reorganizing it a little bit and updating links that seem like they're a little out of date and stuff like that. We've got a new photo on the Vermont page, which is just like heartwarming. Anyway, so that's sort of a little bit about business sustainability. And then I wanted to talk a little, most recently, we've been working with the state and with Let's Grow Kids on administering the infant and toddler capacity building grant program. The application for that is open and live right now. Applications are due October 25th. But I'd give a little update about where we are with that. We have gotten over 100 inquiries into that program to date, and currently we have about 80 inquiries that we're still kind of following up on. Of those, we've sent applications out to 30 prospective applicants, and of those, about 7. We've gotten 7 applications submitted already. Of the 30, I also wanted to mention that about 8 of them are new family childcare is looking to open, or maybe like just opened. So that's like, I wish it was a little more, and I'm kind of hopeful some of that other 80, right, some of the 50 that we haven't gotten an application to yet, maybe those will be family childcares, because I feel like that's a big deal. So we've sent out links to 30 potential applicants. We budgeted for 35 to 40 projects was our estimate. So we're kind of right where I think we need to be with that. We've had moments when we thought it would be undersubscribed. We've had moments where we thought it was going to be way oversubscribed, but it seems like it's all kind of shaking out. And then the last thing I was going to mention was that looking towards next year, and thinking about growing the supply and using data to help inform all of that. There's 2 things that are happening. One is the supply and demand analysis that Let's Grow Kids has worked on in partnership with Building Bright Futures and with us and the state and all kinds of other partners, affectionately known as Stalled at the Start. There'll be a new version of that, and we're participating in that. So I just wanted to mention, it's really important we continue to monitor what our supply and demand is. And then the second thing is that we launched the office, First Children's Finance Vermont office in February, and we started it with a survey of all the childcare programs in the state, asking about their business health and kind of where they were and financially, and we're going to redo that, or not redo it, but like we're going to update it in February again with a new survey, which we think will start to get a little bit of insight into the effects of Act 76 and kind of like where people's heads are at, where their finances are at. So we're really optimistic that that's going to give us some early insight into how going. And I think that was I was going to share about that. I mean, answer any questions. My team can tell me if I left something important out, and happy to. Yeah, we're also, I just saw in the chat, everybody's hiring grants people. We are in the throes of interviewing for a grant specialist. We have been actually really a little surprised and impressed by the quality of applicants that we have received. And it has been on my mind that I knew that there were some people looking for grant people, and yeah, so I will keep that in mind, because we can only hire one, and there seem to be some excellent candidates.
Awesome. Are there any other questions for anyone that was on the call today that presented, or any other updates that anyone would like to share? It looks like we have finished a little early. You were all so efficient. And we will send out the notes and the recording. I knew there were a number of people who couldn't be on today, so they have asked for that recording, so they'll get caught up before our next meeting. I feel like
thanks for all the updates. They were great.
Yeah. But I can't remember what it was, so we'll say goodbye. Thanks, everyone.